right, in 2019, we started hearing from a group called Michigan Rising Action out here. It's a conservative activist group here. They're online. They're in person. They are apparently well funded here, and they've got for 2020 and put this out a definite agenda from the right for state legislators. And as they say, national liberals who will descend on this battleground state. Well, there will be national liberals descending on Michigan if they haven't already, not just those who are candidates, but those who are surrogates, and et cetera. The director of Michigan Rising Action is Tori Sachs. She's on the other end of our line again. Good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me.
All right. So before those national liberals get here, okay, I don't know, careful, look over your shoulder. Oh, there they are. You've got your opportunity and accountability agenda. Now, you've put here in black and white things that you want to see happen or that you're going to try to steer through the year. So let's tick through a few of them. And the first one has to do with the governor and a gas tax increase, which everyone says is pretty much off the board now, but maybe you're not as convinced?
The governor, if we remember, Gretchen Whitmer, when she was campaigning to get that job, said that she would not increase the gas tax. In the debate against Bill Schuette, he said, Gretchen, to fund your proposal, you're going to need to raise the gas tax by 20 cents. And she scoffed at that. She said, that's ridiculous. Fast forward a few months later, she's proposing a 45-cent gas tax increase. I think that has to be a non-starter for everyone in the legislature as it was last year. But, she's fooled us once, so I think we need to make sure that we continue to hold her accountable.
So will you fight any attempt to raise a gas tax, even if it's in combination with other items or lowering something else to pump that up, pun intended? Will you oppose anything along those lines?
I think we're going to side with the voters in stopping any gas tax increase that doesn't ensure the current funds and existing revenue for infrastructure are maximized effectively. And, that's part of what you hear some other people talking about. Right now, the taxes that we pay on gas do not all go for roads and infrastructure. Michigan already has one of the highest taxes on gas in the country, and that money is not going, as we say in Lansing, that's not being used as a user fee to keep up the roads and infrastructure as it is.
All right, you say ensure an open and fair state budget process, one that doesn't use kids or critical services as pawns, and that's probably a reference to both the vetoes and the state administrative board that got together and was able to move some pots of money around within departments. So what was unfair and what was closed about that process until the bitter end from your standpoint?
Sure. I would say about a month before the state budget process ended, the governor walked away from negotiations with the legislature. They passed a balanced budget. It went to the governor, and she vetoed about $1 billion, and that was money that could have been used. Let's not forget, she vetoed about $350 billion that was directly for roads, bridges, infrastructure, as well as projects like autism, for the Autism Alliance that helps parents navigate that. She vetoed money for charter schools. She vetoed money for veteran services in rural counties. She vetoed money for health services in rural counties. And the only reason she vetoed that is because she was hoping to get the legislature back at the table to pass her 45-cent gas tax increase. That is the definition of using critical services and students in public schools as pawns.
Okay, I think it's I'll disagree with you on the last part there. I don't know that was to get the 45 cents. I really think, and I mentioned this with our earlier guest, Dennis Lennox, that when Christine Gregg said this is a non-starter, at that point, 45 cents, whatever, at that high end was dead. I mean, it was dead. And that was not a end of the budget process pain to get them back for the 45 cents, but to get something that would be more of a give and take, and the legislature wasn't having it. So I will concede you that end. Go ahead.
I would just say that the vetoes that she made, she thought, a majority impacted Republican legislative districts, except for the charter school funding, which impacted a majority of Democrat districts. I think that was a direct attack at the Republican legislature to come back to the table for a gas tax increase.
All right, you've asked too for increased state government transparency. What would that look like? Is this more robust FOIA? Are these things that would put the legislature and the executive office more in line with other states rather than more secretive? What would that look like to you?
I think we definitely need more state government transparency in general. I think that we're going to be open to looking to see what the legislature does. Obviously, more sunlight on things
Sure.
at the government level is a good thing. I think we're starting to see some high cost of FOIAs in this state. I'm not sure if you've done any. The cost keeps to incrementally.
I've not only done many FOIAs in my career, Tori, but when I was in state government, I had to deal with requests for FOIAs. So I've been on both sides of that fence.
And it keeps getting more costly. And I think I think they need to be transparent on why, and if they're trying to create a barrier, or if that is the cost and what that cost is.
How tricky?
And I know we're probably
sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think, as we keep to talk about our agenda, I think there's some things that we need to, talk about, especially from the liberal aspect. Nationally, there are issues that we need to stop, like Medicare for All, which would eliminate private health insurance, and the Green New Deal, which would really impact our auto industry and manufacturing and really cost us a lot of jobs. And what we're seeing is that those ideas are being started at the national level, but we start to have, people that represent us in Congress, people that represent us in the state legislature, who then latch onto those ideas. And I think part of what we're doing at Michigan Rising Action through our opportunity and accountability agenda is making sure that we are pushing, solid conservative policy, but also that we're stopping and making the public aware of this radical far left policy that seems to be infiltrating Michigan.
We're visiting with Tori Sachs today, the executive director, Michigan Rising Action. We just set a record, Tori, because we've spoken for 7 minutes without mentioning the name Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, which is rarely done in any political conversation. But the president will be a fact. Were you at the rally last night?
I was not at the rally last night.
Okay. Was there anything there that, again, different things that he would have talked about there would have been the Iran situation from the time he was in Battle Creek. Otherwise, was there anything in particular that struck you there? He was obviously going to center some things on Michigan because there were probably a lot of Michigan folks at that rally.
Absolutely, there was. I saw a lot of people I know on Facebook and Twitter were at the rally. I watched it on TV from my couch with my kids. But what I would say is that President Trump understands that Midwestern values, whether it's Ohio or Michigan, the issues that matter to us are jobs, securing the border, making sure that we stop, I was just talking about, make sure we're stopping these far left agendas that would cost us manufacturing jobs. I mean, it sounds crazy that we have to say that in Michigan, that's what Democrats want to do, but that's what they're focused on. And I think the president gets that. He's been advocating for things like the USMCA, which would definitely help our farmers and manufacturing, local economies with more trade. So I think that's why the president, you saw him in Michigan a couple of weeks ago at the Merry Christmas rally. You saw him in Toledo because he understands the importance of Michigan and Ohio.
He'll be back. He's going to be back. He's going to be back.
But
I'm sure he's going to be back here a lot. He was here a lot in 2016 as well. Our time is short here. If you want to learn more, you can go to their website, michiganrisingaction.org, and you can also follow along Facebook and Twitter as well. Tori Sachs, the executive director, and the conservative agenda is some of the top line bullet points for 2020. I appreciate you coming on today. Again, until our next time, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one.
You too. 1320 WILS.